Hello, friends. So, today we are going to read this story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. You must have heard of him, the famous Sherlock Holmes series, where Sherlock Holmes is the detective who depends on his observation power, and his assistant is one Dr. Watson. So, Dr. Watson is very humble and he has great admiration for Sherlock Holmes. In fact, he wants to be like him, but his observation powers are not that acute. And in this story, how Watson learned the trick, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle has kind of taken a new turn. And here we see that Watson is rather getting jealous of his mentor, Sherlock Holmes, and he's trying to, uh, show off that he can also make the astute observations that Sherlock Holmes had been making. So here we shall also be um, taking note of grammatical points because our purpose in reading these stories is to learn English, and through these stories, we also need to pick up grammatical points so that our reading does not remain, limited to entertainment. It should result in some learning also, English learning, and therefore, here we start. Watson had been watching his companion intently ever since he had sat down to the breakfast table. Holmes happened to look up and catch his eye. Well, Watson, what are you thinking about? He asked. About you. So, in the first sentence, we see that uh, this preposition, I would like you to note down this preposition, ever since he had sat down to the breakfast table. So, plausibly, uh, it could be at also. But here, Sherlock Holmes had sat down to the breakfast table for the specific purpose of having his breakfast. In this context, two will be more appropriate. Otherwise, if somebody asks, where is Sherlock Holmes sitting? Then you'd say he's sitting at the breakfast table. But here, since he has been, he is on the verge of starting his breakfast, so to say that he had sat down to breakfast table will be more appropriate. So this is the preposition two that I'd like you to note down. And then you can see that the story starts when Watson had been watching for some time. That means Sherlock Holmes had come, say, 2 or 3 minutes earlier, and then this story starts. That means the starting of the story is the, point in the past, and coming off the Sherlock Holmes and Watson starting his watch. They are all earlier to that point. Therefore, had sat down and had been watching. These two things are here, past perfect continuous and past perfect. Had been watching means it's, emphasizing the continuity of the thing. Watson started watching and he had been watching for some time. Intently. Intently means not casually, with some definite purpose, with some intent. And why? We shall shortly see. What was the intention? Because by observing Sherlock Holmes, Watson was to deduce some points. And we'll see all his points will prove to be wrong. Kind of, uh, uh, Watson had been shown his place in this story. So I will read once again. Watson had been watching his companion intently ever since he had sat down uh, to the breakfast table. Holmes happened to look up and catch his eye. Why does it say happened to look up? Because if he had simply written Holmes looked up, That means he looked up with some purpose. Here he just happened to look up, not with a purpose. But then when he looked up, he saw that uh, Watson was observing him intently. So Holmes happened to look up and catch his eye. Well, Watson, what are you thinking about? He asked. About you. Me? Yes, Holmes. I was thinking how superficial are these tricks of yours, and how wonderful it is that the public should continue to show interest in them. Superficial means not very deep, very something very simple. So what Watson is saying that the tricks of Sherlock Holmes are very simple, and I mean what Watson is saying that it's surprising that the public is getting impressed with them, and they continue to show interest in them. I quite agree, said Holmes. In fact, I have a recollection that I have myself made a similar remark. Now, since Watson is kind of, you know, uh, in a way, he is insulting Holmes, and Holmes has to confront this situation. So he plays humble, and he says, I quite agree. In fact, I have a recollection that I have myself made a similar remark. So what Holmes is saying is that he not only agrees, he also remembers that he had himself made this kind of remark earlier. Then your methods, said Watson severely, are really easily acquired. So Watson says that your deduction methods are very simple and anybody can acquire them. They are really easily acquired. No doubt, Holmes answered with a smile. Perhaps you will yourself give an example of this method of reasoning. With pleasure, said Watson. I am able to say that you were greatly preoccupied when you got up this morning. Excellent, said Holmes. How could you possibly know that? Preoccupied means when you are thinking of something important and it completely consumes you, then you fail to notice other things. Then it would be said that you are preoccupied. Means something is occupying your mind. And in that sense, if anybody says something, you will not be able to take notice, or you by yourself will not be able to notice things around you. Then you are preoccupied. So Watson says, I am able to say that you were greatly preoccupied when you got up this morning. Got up means to rise from the bed. Excellent, said Holmes. How could you possibly know that? Because you are usually a very tidy man, and yet you have forgotten to shave. Okay, so that is the deduction. You have forgotten. This is present perfect because he says that. Uh, I mean, he could have said you forgot, but in that sense, the stubble that he sees on his face and the notice he takes would not be clear from past tense. So since the present effect is here, he has used have forgotten, present perfect. You use present perfect when you want to say that the effect of some action taken in the past is visible in the present. Okay, so you have forgotten to shave. Tidy means clean. Usually a very tidy man, and yet you have forgotten to shave. Dear me, how very clever, said Holmes. I had no idea, Watson, that you were so apt a pupil. Apt means suitable. Here he is calling Watson a suitable pupil because Sherlock Holmes himself, he depends on his power of observations. And now he is telling Watson that you yourself are learning the observation method very well. So you are very apt pupil. So I had no idea, Watson, that you were so apt a pupil. Has your eagle eye detected anything more? Now he is poking fun at him by calling his eye an eagle eye. Because, the eyesight of eagle is very sharp and nothing can, you know, uh, does it. So he is asking Watson, are there other things that your eagle eye has detected? Yes, Holmes. You have a client named Barlow and you have not been successful with his case. Dear me, how could you know that? I saw the name outside his envelope. When you opened it, you gave a groan and thrust it into your pocket with a frown on your face. Thrust means to put something violently somewhere, to make a violent movement. So he has put the thrust, the past tense of thrust is also thrust, and third form is also thrust. So when you opened it, you gave a groan. Groan means a sound you make when you are in pain or when you are upset, then you groan. And the noun is also groan. So you gave a groan and thrust it, past tense of thrust, it into your pocket with a frown on your face. Frown means when you are upset or when you are angry or when you are concentrating, there are lines on your forehead above your nose. So that expression is called frown. And thrust it into your pocket with a frown on your face. Admirable, you are indeed observant. And any other points? I fear, Holmes, that you have taken to financial speculation. What is speculation? When you make a guess. And when you are making a financial speculation means you are trying to guess which way the market is going to move, how the shares are going to fare, and therefore you may make your investments accordingly. So that will not be a wise thing to do because that is only a guess. And therefore he uses the word fear. I fear, Holmes, that you have taken to financial speculation. How could you tell that, Watson? You opened the paper, turned to the financial page, and gave a loud exclamation of interest. Newspaper. You opened the newspaper, you turned to the financial page, and gave a loud exclamation of interest. That is Watson's, deduction. He thinks that he looked at the share prices or a price of a particular share that he might have, and it might have gone up or it may have gone down very considerably, and that is why he exclaimed. So he says, you opened the paper, turned to the financial page, and gave a loud exclamation of interest. Well, that is very clever of you, Watson. Any more? Yes, Holmes. You have put on your black coat instead of your dressing gown, which proves that you are expecting some important visitor at once. So it's clear enough. He says that unless he was going to go out, he would not have put on his black coat. Rather, he would have appeared into his dressing gown for breakfast. So he says that since you have put on your black coat instead of your dressing gown, it proves that you are expecting some important visitor at once. Anything more? I have no doubt that I could find other points, Holmes, but I only give you these few in order to show that there are other people in the world who can be as clever as you. And some not so clever, said Holmes. Now it is the turn of, Holmes to insult Watson. I admit that they are few. I mean, the guys who are not so clever. But I'm afraid, my dear Watson, that I must count you among them. Okay? So, what Holmes is saying that some people are not so clever as I am, and you are among them. So, you are not very clever. What do you mean, Holmes? I fear your deductions have not been so happy as I should have wished. Deductions have not been so happy. Happy here means not appropriate. Your deductions are not accurate. Otherwise, you and me both would have been very happy about them. But he says that your deductions are not very happy because I mean they are wrong and therefore they could not be described as happy deductions. Well, my dear fellow, I fear your deductions have not been so happy as I should have wished. You mean that I was mistaken? Just a little that way, I fear. You see, the way he says it, a very polite way to, you know, put it. He doesn't say that, nah, you are really mistaken straight way. He says, just a way, I fear. Just take the points in their order. I did not shave because I have sent my razor to be sharpened. So apparently, this was the time when razor had to be sharpened from time to time. not like today when you use and throw it. So I did not shave because I have sent my razor to be sharpened. I put on my coat because I have, worse luck, an early meeting with my dentist. His name is Barlow, and the doctor was to confirm the appointment. That is why Holmes had groaned, and he has thrust the letter into his pocket with a frown on his face because he did not like to go to the dentist. Nobody likes to go to the dentist. The cricket page is beside the financial one. When you open the paper, you have two pages, the left page and the right page. And Holmes is telling him that the cricket page is beside the financial one, and I turned to it to find if Surrey was holding its own against Kent. So here there are two cricket teams, Surrey and Kent. And Holmes probably is a supporter of Surrey, and he was trying to see whether Surrey was holding its own against Kent. That means, are they able to manage? I mean, are they getting overwhelmed or not? That was his point. So he was interested in cricket and he wanted to see the progress of Surrey. That is why he was looking at the cricket pace, not the financial pace. But go on. But go on, Watson. Go on. It's a very superficial trick. And no doubt you will soon acquire it. So that is how the story ends when Sherlock Holmes, after proving that all his three deductions were wrong, then he says it's a very superficial trick. Means making these deductions on the basis of observations, and he should not be discouraged. He should go on. He should continue because it's a very superficial trick, and no doubt you will soon acquire it. So it's not the usual fare that usual stories that Arthur Conan Doyle wrote. Uh, you may say a side piece, uh, but it's interesting. And I hope you have learned some grammatical points on the way and some new words like preoccupied, the use of preposition to in the very opening line. He had sat down to the breakfast table, and then the use of perfect and perfect continuous tenses and many other points. Uh, my point is, you need to learn, you need to, consolidate your grammatical points through the reading of literature. You should read the books, not only newspapers, because newspapers are written in a certain, um, certain rigid style. And unless you are confronted with some kind of dialogues, here there are dialogues, and you can learn from there not only English in general, but your spoken English will also be greatly improved. So that is how we ended today. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for your presence. Bye.